Good morning everyone, and welcome to another video. In this video I would like to discuss the best fueling system in order to create the maximum amount of power in order to move things. Now see, we often think of fuel as gasoline, but we also have diesel. Diesel being seen as a more toxic combustion of sorts, if you wish. But where's the difference between gasoline and diesel? Well, for one, you could see that gasoline is actually more refined diesel, where they actually broke the process down and pulled out more of the more powerful combustible ingredient. Because you see, in diesel, the rate of combustion has a higher potential output than gasoline does. But the problem with diesel now is the idea of making that combustion run in a clean energy system, which we see now we've begun through DEF fluid or diesel exhaust fluid systems, which is basically sulfur or ammonia, which is horse piss, which we're burning now with diesel. But it still leaves a toxic fume. And so how do you change the combustion of diesel? Well, you see, the idea to make diesel run more efficiently, if gasoline is more refined diesel, and the more refined you create the gasoline, the more expensive it is, because it has less firepower, and thus you must now run more powerful engines in order to generate the same amount of power. You see, gasoline is actually sold in reverse. The best gasoline you can put in your tank is actually the lowest octane gas, not the highest, because the higher you go up, the more the engine has to work in order to combust it, which results then in a higher power output due to a bigger engine. But now when you look at diesel, which if you want to move things in the world, which you might say, well, why do we need to move things? I don't know. Instead of utilizing one truck to move 40,000 pounds, we would now have to use 100 men to pull the same amount of weight, as not nearly as efficiently. So if we want to return to the slave age, then we have to start finding ways to move things more efficiently. So how do you make diesel combust more efficiently? Well, for one, the current way we are currently combusting diesel is through utilizing air, oxygen. Whereas now, if we were to utilize oxygen found in water, where you now have two hydrogen molecules, which in fact increase the combustion level of the diesel, but because it is mixed with an oxygen molecule from water which is a byproduct of carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide mixed with the rest of the gases in the air result in water. And now when you see that we could actively be creating more powerful running engines with cleaner fuel systems run by diesel, not mixed with air molecule oxygen, but water molecule oxygen. Rather than running a DEF fluid, we should be running an oxygen water tank and changing the fuel injective system, because we're going to now see a more greater power output in the combustion, resulting in more torque, more power, more PSI. And this is going to now be a cleaner running fuel. But where's the scheme in gasoline? You see, we're paying much more for a fuel we're being told is no good. And we're paying just about the same for a fuel that's not even anywhere near as good in the power to ratio output it can put. And we're actively burning more oil to create gasoline than we would in order to create diesel, which we have just discovered in my TED Talk here. You can actively create clean running diesel simply by switching the way you combust the oxygen molecule and inject it at the point of ignition of combustion, which a water molecule is in essence a slight dissolvency, which now the bitumen of the diesel separates a little bit more. It lessens in thickness, which now it's not as thick. You can actively combust it at a more high output power. And now we can see a new rise of higher output diesel engines, which you now introduce through a turbo diesel, where you're now actively running nitrous oxide instead of hydrous oxide. Air compared to water. And because of this, we see the combustion rate create a much more potent form of carbon monoxide, because we are combusting diesel with air oxygen rather than water oxygen, which then contains 2 hydrogen molecules per every oxygen molecule. And the hydrogen, in essence, neutralizes the carbon monoxide. It is a base to acidic, which creates a neutralization. Anyways, folks, thank you for watching the difference between the scam of the gas world we're being sold, where we could actually be running a true world where we move things with a clean energy.